I'm Dave.
I'm Josh.
We are a lot of critics, but right now,
we're in the spoiler zone.
We're going to talk about Deadpool 2.
With Ryan.
Ryan, he said he would be here. I mean, I don't know.
He must.
I think, is he...
Are you eating in there still?
Yeah, maybe he's taking a nap. I don't know.
Do we really want Ryan Reynolds to talk more about his own movie?
We need an unbiased opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
All right. So Deadpool 2. Let's kick it off with the opening titles. James Bond style.
Yes.
Celine Dion.
Yes.
I mean, you've seen the music video, so you know how outrageously just
very
fun this is, and
yes.
the opening title sequence. It does it again.
Speaking of,
okay,
this is a point of controversy. I don't know if you know about this. This movie kicks off with the death of his girlfriend.
Yes, yeah.
Which is a trope in film. A lot of movies, they actually call it fridging. Have you heard this term?
No.
This dates back to comics, where I do not remember which character it was, but there was a superhero whose girlfriend was killed and stuffed into a refrigerator.
Okay. Very
gruesome, and it was done in a way to give that main character a reason to go on revenge. Sort of like your typical, like, revenge plot. You've been wrong.
Yeah, kind of a common theme in
very
movies.
common theme.
Yeah.
Which is why it's, over time, become a criticism. Because a lot of writers, you think of the Taken movies, really any action movie, chances are, if the main character has a wife or a daughter, is that character killed or kidnapped?
Or a dog.
Yep. But that's what I like about John Wick, is that it was a puppy and not his wife. Because so often it's the wife, the girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And I got to admit, I was a little disappointed when they did that with her, because these Deadpool movies I want to be unique and original. And as a plot point, I was like, oh, we're killing the girlfriend?
Yes.
And it was the things they did with it worked out.
Yeah.
And she kind of stayed as a character, and it wasn't...
She may or may not have come back alive in the end credits.
She's back. I'm pretty sure canonically, both the directors and the writers were like, yeah, that counts. That really, all that stuff in the credits happened. But it did start the movie off for me a little bit where I was like, okay, where are you going to go from here? Because this is a very typical plot of, oh no, the girlfriend's dead. And they acknowledge it in the credits. They say, did you really kill her? Oh my god, she's actually dead?
Yeah.
And I was like, alright, this is... I'm going to give this a pass because they're self-aware of what they're doing.
Yes. It's Deadpool.
It's Deadpool,
it's breaking the fourth wall, self-aware so much. In the movie, you already knew, with Cable being in it, that time travel was going to be a part of it.
Yep.
Still in the back of your mind, maybe we're going to get to that point, which they did in the end credits.
And do you remember what motivated Cable? Cable's wife and daughter were murdered.
Oh boy.
Right?
Are you just calling this movie darker than I really realize it is?
I'm starting off with my main criticism of the movie.
Okay.
Which does not negate how much fun it was and how great it was. But for a movie that did have so much going for it,
wow,
I have to call out the one thing that I was like, that just felt a little like you couldn't have come up with any other reason for these characters to do what they were doing. And I get it. They mirrored each other because Deadpool was doing what he was doing because of his dead girlfriend. Cable was doing what he was doing because of his dead wife. But then, at the end, Cable saves his wife and is like, I'm not going back to the future, I'm going to stay here. And it's like, wait, everything that motivated you was to save your wife.
Boy, bigger potholes than I thought there were.
Yeah, and it's like... So, I don't know. I feel like I'm maybe pointing this out for the first time.
I was just going to say, like, good usage of time digesting the movie.
Thinking about it, yes. After the fact.
Yes.
It's kind of like...
Interesting. Well, with all that said, it doesn't change my opinion in the fact that it was what it was. It was a Deadpool sequel. The things I had said originally in a lot of critics were that, you know, it didn't break any milestones. It didn't up the game. It wasn't, you know, like using an X-Men reference, you know, with Deadpool, X-Men United, far better sequel than its predecessor. X-Men Days of Future Past, so much more incredible than X-Men First Class. So this one, you know, it's in the X-Men Fox world.
It is, yeah.
So, you know, maybe Deadpool 2, you know, they're adding Cable, they're adding Domino, rumors of Task Force.
X-Force?
X-Force.
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 Yep.
Task Force X is Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, X-Force, rumors of that being teased and set up in this movie. So you're like, ooh, this thing has got a lot of stuff going for it.
Yeah.
And it kind of just stayed, which is fine, which is fine because it was still solid. But it stayed. And I think probably what you're discussing kept it too grounded. It kept it from leaping, because if Cable had a different motivation to go back in time, maybe you have it on a bigger scale.
Yes. Yeah. It so held back by trying to tell a story that was maybe a little too serious for what Deadpool needs to be.
Yeah.
And you could have launched it into something bigger. And in the comics, Deadpool's girlfriend is a superhero. They never even get into that. I think she's a mutant even. She's like an assassin. Like, in these movies, I don't think that's who that character is, but she has the same name. They never reference it at all.
Yeah, not in the first one, if I'm recalling.
They could have gone there. Maybe they still will for future whatever, but I was kind of hoping, okay, Deadpool's girlfriend is like, guess what? I'm in the game too, and we're going to fight together. And then Cable shows up, and he's like, well, now I got to fight this couple. And you could have had a lot of humor about, a couple who are also superheroes, and you could have gone some really interesting, like, you know, dirty jokes, and just like, haha, like, the same way they kind of like weird sex jokes in the first one, but like now when they're fighting together, it almost writes itself. You can see.
Well, and also Fox, you know, funny correlation is, do you remember Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Who else was in this movie? Brad Pitt.
Good cameo.
I mean, he had that tiny cameo.
Yep.
He was originally one of the guys to play Cable.
Yes.
If Brad Pitt plays Cable, and Cable's taking on this fighting couple, the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I mean, leave it to the writers to throw out what they want, but Fox, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure Fox did Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's just like throwing a lot of like lines around here to connect, but maybe more potential. So, you know, but I don't want to change this until like me and David are directing Deadpool 3 right now. But
you could. I mean, you could just contact us. And
just give us a call. A lot of critics. But anyways, so back to, you know, Cable, to what this movie looked like it was going to be. The things that were solid in this, I gotta say, Cable was really good. He wasn't the cartoon, he wasn't the comic Cable that I know. Maybe he's still going to develop into that, but he was still solid nonetheless. I thought he was really well played by Josh Brolin, and it was a really cool character. Domino stole the show for me.
Yes.
And what also stole the show was her action sequence with the truck. I mean, her character is hurt. She's lucky.
Yep.
She gets away with everything.
Yeah.
Like, she lands perfectly with the parachute. Like, she just rolls through the truck like nothing's happening, and so much is going on around her, which makes it such a cool scene.
Yes. And like, all nitpicks about the basic plot aside, you're not going to these movies, you're not going to Deadpool because of the plot. The plot is there to get to these action sequences, to the humor, to
have the purpose of a movie.
Yeah, that's the meat of it, and that is where this succeeds. And as much as those little bits would have elevated it even more, things like the domino sequence with the timing of it and the way it was shot, and the director, you know, David Leitch, John Wick, half of John Wick, Atomic Blonde, this, good, great, not as good as Chad Stileski, who is, but really, really solid action sequences, really clever use of directing with hopping on, just everything that you would expect from a blockbuster action movie.
And you know what's funny as I'm thinking about this, little like news note is David is going to be doing the spin-off from Fast and the Furious.
Yes.
With Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham.
He's perfect.
The sequences that we saw were very Fast and the Furious like.
On moving vehicles, cars crashing.
Light humor to mix in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's got good stuff. I haven't seen Atomic Blonde yet, but I've heard good reviews of the action in it.
Yeah.
But then mixed reviews about the plot, which sounds like Deadpool. So, I mean, and he's still new to the game. He's still getting there. So I trust that he'll get.
Yeah.
He's got good bones right now. I mean, the development of everything right now.
When he's good, he's really, really good. But I feel like he's still learning, finding his style.
Yeah.
He has those moments because there was a few moments later in the movie where it almost got there. There's a couple fight sequences, a couple shootouts. The very, very end when they're doing the hospital shootout.
Yes.
The stuff where Domino is taking out some characters was great. With using like her luck powers and guys are almost like taking themselves out was great.
Yeah.
But then there was a moment when Cable and Deadpool face off against the gang of people, and I'm like, yeah, here we go. This is gonna be. And then boom, 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 it's over. It was over too quick. I was like, oh no, that was your moment. That was your moment to really, really let loose and really get something like an interesting something.
Take less of the strange sequences when Deadpool is talking with his dead wife. Like, it takes some of that away and put more into the fun action sequences, because that's what Deadpool. He's a mercenary that. In the opening that was a great sequence when you're like, all right, this is his card. This is the guy he's going after. This is the group of people he's going after. And I mean, the whole play it, Dolly, breaking the fourth wall. Dolly Parton starts playing over in the soundtrack, and he's like working 9 to 5, and he's doing his job, killing and assassinating all these guys, and the stripper scene where he's wearing the heels, killing guys, and it's just like that set the tone. I'm like, all right, here we go. You know, he's gonna have a mission where he's gonna have to like culminate all the stuff he's been doing and put it all out there, and he just didn't get that. Almost. Yeah.
And what's good is good.
Yes.
What's good is great often.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. And I mean, kudos to the director for actually using what you're supposed to do for Deadpool and just have fun. Make it fun. And Deadpool was fun.
Yes.
Funny.
Yeah. The humor was great.
Oh my gosh.
The humor was just really
his little legs. It's not enough to describe it. You have to see it and you'll lose your mind.
Yeah.
Because it's such a Ryan Reynolds thing to like.
Perfectly everybody did.
Oh my gosh.
I don't laugh out loud very much. I'm the kind of guy when I see humor, I'm like, this is really funny.
His hand reaching up to deal.
And it kept going, and I was actually like out loud laughing, and it just perfectly timed and delivered and everything.
DJ Miller dropping his
Miller doing a great job.
Rant about the legs and what it looks like to him. That was.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for this movie to be as funny as it was, and
in prison, Black Tom, and all that where Deadpool's amongst the inmates and his quick one-liners to come back to these guys.
The DC knock.
Yes. Yeah. This is we're not going to be as dark as a DC movie and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Very good. Very funny. And then the end credits. I mean, he. he kills himself
Yep.
before signing Green Lantern. He kills off the Deadpool, Mutant X or whatever the heck it was for the
Wolverine Origins. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was just
and to tie it together, beginning of the movie, I'm like, oh, you're killing the girlfriend. End of the movie, he saves the girlfriend. And I'm like, you know what, Deadpool 2, you're all right. Because my one criticism, you solved it by the time it was over. You undid my nitpick about the tropiness, the typicalness of that type of plot point, and you fixed it
by taking advantage of what Deadpool is.
Yes, and that to me, like, I'm like, okay,
we can do whatever we want.
You're good, and I just, we got to talk about X-Force. The X-Force, like, they basically trolled everyone when they had all the previews. And like Deadpool 2 featuring X-Force. And they had Terry Crews, right?
Yep.
And Shatterstar and all these characters, and all the geek news sites were like, oh, the X-Force movie is going to be starring these people and this and that. Nope. They're all dead. They're all gone. Well, almost all.
Except for
Domino and what was his name?
Richard?
Steve? Peter?
Sorry.
Put it on screen here.
Yeah.
But, yes. Clearly the most memorable character in the movie.
But he was great, though. Like, all those characters were really funny.
Yeah. So Deadpool to set up...
And Brad Pitt.
And then Brad Pitt, yes.
As the Invisible Guy.
His death cameo.
Yes.
But it was great that you go in thinking, like, this is where the franchise is going. Oh, nope. It's not. Nope. It's not going there. And just kind of a knock on all these, all the Marvel movies and all the setups and all the just, like, where does it go next. And there is still a place for this to go next.
Yes.
By the time it's over, you do have what could be considered an
Domino,
X-Force.
Cable, Deadpool. I mean, that's the start of it. And
Taxi Driver.
Yes. Who, again, he was really phenomenal.
Good. Yep.
Phenomenal supporting character. And, back to the Cable thing, it's like, yes, things kind of were a little awkward as to, like, why he was coming back in time and why things changed. Like, it wasn't convincing enough to be like, wait, you came back in time to, like, save your family, but then you don't want to go back in the future to be with your family.
Yeah.
All that was awkward, but it's a good setup because I think he'll be great going forward in X-Force.
Yeah.
Domino will be great going forward in X-Force. And, Deadpool made it, so...
Really, if you could time travel, I guess technically Cable could stay as long as he wants, and then time travel back to the point before, like, right after he left. So if he fixed the point, then he could go back to his wife and family. Somehow.
He could, and he could also...
I mean, time travel excuses. It'll work out. It'll be fine.
Yeah, but I mean, somebody must, in the sequence of the movie, he was convinced enough to stay where he's at.
Yeah.
Unless, Drew Goddard or one of the directors of the next movie was like, hey, Cable, don't go back. Don't go back.
He's like, I hear this is going to be a franchise.
Yeah,
and, I think that pays pretty well, so I'll stick around for a little while. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I do have a bone to pick with the cinematographer. It was... I don't think you noticed this as much as I did. We kind of talked about this a little bit.
And it was more because you saw the first one more recent.
I watched the first one.
And you could see...
Yes.
Not side by side, but like... from one to the next.
Yeah, the coloring of the first one was great. It had a very natural coloring that was just slightly saturated and a very, like, Deadpool is very red. And a lot of, like, pale skies and just nice contrast, and, like, Colossus is a nice, like, a lot of, like, saturated colors against gray, like, city situations. It was good. It worked perfectly. This one pushed, I think, a little too far into the teal and orange. And if you look up now, go on Google and look at screenshots of just different Deadpool 2 screenshots and look at the tinting of it. Because every scene is either green or orange, a little too heavily. And this is something that happens a lot with, it happened in Atomic Blonde, but in a good way, because they were going for, like, this vibe of 80s neon, and they pushed it really hard in either direction. John Wick, same thing, pushed it really hard for like those neons and that look. This one, I don't think it needed that. I would have liked to have seen a more natural coloring to keep it. I wonder if they did it to separate it from the mainline Marvel universe that is very natural colored.
I mean, Infinity War came out fairly recent,
and
they're working out deals to acquire. So
I don't know how it's gonna merge together.
I don't know.
It's something that I gotta.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's me. I don't know. It's a pet peeve of mine when Hollywood does the teal and orange thing. It just I notice it, and this one definitely pushed it a little bit too much. And but maybe that's just me because I don't think you really didn't bother you at all. Didn't notice that.
No, it didn't bother me. I mean, this movie didn't bother me that much at all. I mean, the things that I'm nitpicking are just the basic.
This is a very small.
I mean, going back to Cable, talking about Cable, like, was Cable the bad guy in this movie? Who was the real bad guy? Because if there's one thing that you can nitpick about is, I mean, the schoolmaster, the headmaster at the end, that's your villain. Juggernaut was incredible. I mean, I was happy to see that, but he's just one bad guy. He's not, a Magneto takeover, being villain of a movie.
There isn't really a villain.
It's funny.
Fire Fist sort of kind of is a bad guy because he's eventually going to be the villain.
Yeah.
But he's not really the villain because they're saving him.
And he's also kind of misguided because he then ends up becoming good because of what Deadpool does. So, like, I mean, I guess kudos that you made a movie without... Yeah. You made a superhero movie without having, like, a legit villain, throughout. And not to knock Juggernaut, again, like, that was solid.
Great, yeah.
That was... Without him tearing apart Deadpool, we wouldn't have the tiny legs that came out and made us laugh our butts off. So, that was solid, and it was a good surprise. Yeah. And not to mention the surprise of the X-Men kiddos.
Oh, yeah.
In Xavier's mansion. That was fun.
That was good.
I mean, really, that's... Again, like, this movie did well with that kind of stuff where it's like, Deadpool again complains, like, really? Like, we can only afford Colossus again. We can only afford, the adolescent. He's joking with the other girl, and then sure enough, they close the door and it's Beast and all the guys, and it's like, well done. And
it's interesting that we have so many nitpicks, and this movie has so many problems, and yet it was great.
It was
great
because it knew what it had to do.
Yeah, it's kind of proof that you don't have to, like, a movie to be a super enjoyable, fun, great movie. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes,
you can have a flawed movie with plot holes, with issues, with just lots of things to nitpick, and still, as a whole, have it still be really, really fun and enjoyable.
On the critics side, it finished in like the 80s, I think. So critics appreciated it for what it was as well. So I mean, it's kudos to them continually doing what they're doing, because Deadpool's the trendsetter now for both being fourth wall breaking, comical, gritty with its R rating, and it's the sex and language that this movie drops, and I mean, it's solid and it's fun, and I hope they keep going with it, whether it's Deadpool, X-Force, something else that comes from this.
This has started a trend, for sure. Whether or not it's Deadpool, this type of movie is now a thing. Yeah. That's gonna keep happening, which...
Well, being a DC guy, I'm like, take notes, Suicide Squad.
Lobo.
Like, Lobo, yes. Like, this is Marvel from Fox, not Marvel from Disney, is doing this the right way, where they're like, I know, that all these, you want to hit the whole audience with the kids seeing Avenger movies and things like that, but every once in a while, as we discussed, I think in a lot of critics, it's an adult movie night to see both a superhero movie, a funny movie, an action movie. Like, it has it all, and who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds?
It's
Still not coming out. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Thought that would bring him out,
No.
but who doesn't love Ryan Reynolds? I mean, this
Yeah.
Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool.
It's
This
a perfect role.
it was made for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Do you like 1 or 2 better?
I like 1. I don't know why, but I like it. I like it more. I like it more. I like how it flows. I think I like how everything from beginning to end goes.
Yep. Same here. I think one is objectively a better movie, but 2 is a perfect sequel to it. It's just it's just more. Yeah. And it's exactly what you want.
It's solid. It's good. Yeah.
Could it have been something different? Sure. Could it have been this and that? I mean, you could talk about that all day, what it could have been, but what it is a great follow-up to what the first one set up.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again for watching. Hopefully, give us a like, give us a subscribe. We'll keep this going because we love doing it and we love doing it for you.
We'll see you next time on A Lot of Critics.
Spoilers out.